Morning at NTV.
Very good morning. We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. It's fast approaching the bottom of the hour of 8. We now go into our take note. Counting the learners in schools. Why is it being undertaken by the Ministry of Education? In the eyes of a layman, you would expect, for example, that government right now knows the exact numbers and the proportions of students in schools across the country. But when you hear that there is a new program that is being brought on board to ensure that this is again undertaken, you begin to ask the questions, where are we not getting things right? But to improve and streamline processes is something that governments and institutions undertake on a periodic basis. So this is but just one of them. Robert Bellarmine Okudi is Commissioner for Planning in the Ministry of Education and Sports and is joining us this morning to give us perspective on this latest development and initiative. A very warm welcome to the program, Mr. Okudi.
Thank you very much, Chris.
How are you doing?
I'm quite fine. I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Counting the learners in school, hearing that alone,
Yes.
the layman out there, questions arise.
Yeah.
Counting learners for what? We know the learners. We've been following up. We've been doing all these exams year in, year out.
Yeah.
We know the enrollment levels. What are we counting? What are we counting?
Do we know the learners? Do we know the enrollment numbers? You know, at least we are sure of the candidates who sit
Okay.
the various exams. But the enrollment numbers have not been accurate enough.
Okay.
We have been getting conflicting information. We have been getting submissions from the local governments. And this information is not accurate enough. We keep hearing stories of numbers being inflated for purposes, for example, of getting enhanced capitation grants. So that's why we decided to come up with a web-based information management system. It's called the Education Management Information System. It has grown over the years since 1999. By that time, we're using, a programmed system. Then you go with the forms for schools to fill, and then you come and update the system.
That's right.
But as technology has advanced, now we feel that we are ready to have a system where the institutions themselves provide information. That's one thing. And also they are providing information for individual learners. Yes. So we need this information so that it's accurate enough, because starting from next financial year, we need to use the information we generate automatically from the system. For government schools, for example, it will determine the provision and the allocation of capitation grants and all other budgeting purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we are really in the field for this.
So how far are we now? Has this been already rolled out, or it is simply it's something that you're planning to embark on in the near a few months to come? Okay,
so EMIS has been in existence since 1999. That's the Education Management Information System.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, we're using surveys to be able to populate this information.
That's right.
Until 2017, when we felt that probably we needed a better system, and we decided to suspend the exercise of holding surveys, and we decided to design a revamped EMIS, and that we did in 2019. Okay. Unfortunately, COVID came and disrupted us. But September last year, we had a system which we rolled out to the institutions. They were able to put in information. 10.2 million learners were put in the system by December last year. And general, of course, the performance is varied between government and private schools. We have so we have government almost performing at 100%. 98% of the institutions have been able to update the information for government, but then 43% for the private schools. Yes, so that is how far we have gone. Last year, end of December, we had 10.2 million. As of now, we have 11.5 million learners on the system.
Okay.
Yes.
Two questions related to that, and it's more about integration and the ability to collaborate with other stakeholders. The annual school head counts that are conducted, and then the NERA information that is largely available, especially for secondary school, because they've attained a national ID. It could be different for those ones in the lower end of the learning cycle. How I know at the end of the day, it's about seeking harmony between these numbers, but you are leading this particular initiative, no doubt about that. How far have the annual headcounts supported the initiative?
Okay. We intend to do away with the annual headcounts. Once the EMIS becomes really
fully. A very good morning to you and our audience.
All right, thank you very much. Ivan K. Walinyolo there, who is embedded with the Fisheries Protection Unit of the Uganda People's Defence Forces as they make their way to the scene. That is the point in Lake Victoria where the boat capsized, killing at least 34 people. Efforts to retrieve the bodies and be able to hand them to the relatives who are camped at Kasenyi Learning Site are underway. We do hope the expertise of the men and women of the forces shall be able to effect that. Allow me return to studio and continue with our conversation on counting learners in schools as part of the Education Management Information System under the Ministry of Education and Sports. I'm joined by the Commissioner for Planning Education in the Ministry, Robert Bellarmine Okudi, who was giving us a preamble of the EMS, thus the Education Management Information System update and efforts to ensure that the state and all other stakeholders know the numbers of learners in schools. Mr. Okudi, you had spoken about the headcount and how integrated it is to your ongoing initiative. NERA is very important to this whole effort because it has the data you might well need. What is the level of collaboration? Okay,
for those who are just joining us,
yeah, sure.
I felt I should first recap on why we are here, why we are deepening our awareness about EMIS. Is that we started this system, revamping the EMIS, making it web-based and involving the institutions to input data. And we did this between September 2022 and December, where we input 10.2 million learners. And this year, if you check on EMIS, as at close of business yesterday, it was reported that we had 7.784 learners who are currently at school. So that difference of about 3 million learners, 3.7, because we have 1.3 learners added onto the 10.2 of last year, coming to a record of 11.5. That is in the system.
That's right.
So the difference between the 11.5 and the 7.784 that you see on the system is 3.7. That is learners who have not been updated, because you can't have 10.2 learners last year and then 7.7 this year. So many institutions have not updated this information. So that's why we are here, coming to sensitize them. And most of these really are private schools. So we are appealing to them, because for government schools, starting end of this year, the data that we are using for budgeting purposes is going to come from EMIS. So if you don't update your information on EMIS, then you are going to disadvantage your institution because the budget will be affected. So on NIRA, we have interfaced with NIRA. EMIS captures information about individual learners, individual teachers. And for individual learners, we expect each learner to have a NIN. Some learners up to baby class currently have a NIN. So eventually this is going to be rolled out. We are going to work with the NELA to ensure that all students get their NINs. This exercise had started, but many of you, if you went to get your identity cards for students who probably became of age, or those who are still at school, you'll find that somehow the data, I think there were a bit of issues with the data. But we're going to work with the NERA again. So we have a learner identification number for each individual learner. And for those who have a NIN, we also have a NIN. So you'll just put in the NIN and all the information of that learner will come up. And then for all learners, either you have a parent or you have a next of kin. So we also have NINs for parents, for example, for primary, pre-primary, and secondary, we have NIN. So immediately you put in the NIN, all the information of that parent just comes in. If the NIN is wrong, then it will reject it. Likewise, if you are trying to identify a candidate, you just put in the index number of that candidate, and all the information will come in. Because you see, this is a learner-based system. You enter the learner once in Kampala Parents. If that learner transfers to Kaboja, you are able to transfer that learner. Kaboja will be able to just put in the NIN of that learner or the learner identification number, and that learner will move. Again, when you go to transition, for example, from P7 up to secondary, you use the index number of the learner, all the other information will come and the learner will move.
Okay, that's very comprehensive, but of course we live in a nation or a country that we all know the difficulties when it comes to adoption of some of these initiatives as constrained by technology. You speak of the fact that if a learner transfers from Kampala Parents to Kaboja, that is in a very urban, clear setting. What if a learner is transferring from Kaboja to Butaleja Primary School? How is this going to be? Because you could find, for example, Butaleja Primary School has troubles in accessing the equipment to be able to input some of this information. How are you helping or propping those that are unable to adopt quickly?
Okay, so we have a project for the rollout of EMIS where we intend to provide gadgets. So we provide gadgets, and since it's a web-based system, you can use a smartphone. But the project is going to ensure that we provide gadgets to all institutions so that they're able to update this information.
All right. Time is not our very best ally right now. I would like to ask you something general about the education sector right now, especially in light of the challenges that schools are facing in terms of capitation grant. That amount of money that is given or allocated per a learner. To be honest, I don't know whether I'm not just a policymaker or a planner. It's very little money. Is there any plan that is being mooted or considered, not necessarily to increase, but to come up with a more effective policy to replace capitation grant? I'm not putting the education ministry on the spot on this. I'm just speaking your mind on how we can improve, because capitation grant, as it stands right now, it's an embarrassment. Is there any plan to improve that How much is it, by the way?
20,000 for primary for the whole year.
For an entire year, 20,000 Uganda shillings.
175 per term for secondary.
How is that supposed to happen?
That's all level. Yeah, so, well, I don't know what to, you see, the issue is about funding.
Funding, yeah?
In whichever name it's called. So whether it's capitation grant or you call it any other name, the issue is funding. Yeah? So it really depends on availability of resources. And unfortunately, at times the 20,000 becomes 17 or less. 17 or less. Because, you know, our numbers, population growth, you know, is one of the highest in the world, 3% or so. Yeah, so the issue is really about funding.
Okay. We'll be hoping the funds can be availed, because what we know is that we have some money as a country. Mr. Robert
But before
Okudi,
we conclude, can I just...
Yeah, please wrap it up.
Yeah, let me just wrap it up to say that, especially for private schools, please, EMIS is very, very helpful to you. Most, you know, are hesitating.
What are their concerns?
Yeah, that probably full disclosure of a business enterprise can be a little bit costly to the institutions. But EMIS really is a powerful tool. It empowers especially those who don't have access to developing their own IT systems. Because we keep information about a child, the health condition of a child, the talents, and we are soon moving to a curriculum which is going to be based on continuous assessment. So this system is going to give that opportunity for you to be able to put in the performance of a child right from pre-primary all through. And when that child moves to a different school, it goes with all that record. So this is really, we believe, in the education sector, going to be a game changer. It's going to make us be able to plan more effectively for education on the learners. Thank you so much.
Robert Bellarmine Okudi, Commissioner for Planning at the Ministry of Education. Many thanks for enlightening us about the Education Management Information System rollout and efforts to improve our knowledge of numbers in schools across the country. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All right, and that will do it for this edition of Morning at NTV. Just a reminder that our reporter, Ivan Kewal, is on ground and, well, not on ground, on water now, to ensure that we are updated on what's going on in terms of retrieval of those bodies from the water so that the relatives can have a chance to conduct decent burials. But of course, this is the latest incident in many that have happened on Lake Victoria and across other water bodies in the country. It brings to the fore one aspect: water transport and systems that are aimed at improving. The members of parliament who spoke to Priscilla Regina Naloga just a few minutes ago exposed some of the challenges that the islanders are facing in the country and whether the policymakers are paying attention to efforts to ensure that those services reach them as effectively as possible, including a good and effective transport system remains to be seen. Here on NTV, we are happy to amplify the issues of the day, including the need to ensure that these services reach and that improvements are done at whatever level they ought to do. For those that have been watching from 6:30, many thanks for your company on a daily basis. We do appreciate, and many thanks to the team behind the scenes that ensures that this program runs as smoothly as it does. On behalf of my